draft fans, and here is the instant reaction for the lottery. Odds have been dropped out, and now we have the official rankings for each team. And wow is all I can say. If you're an Orlando Magic fan, you're loving life. If you're a Detroit Piston fan like me, you feel a little bit hard done by, but that's all good. We got Cade. And if you're anywhere in between, you're probably loving life too. Interesting. So the Orlando Magic, with equal best odds, get the number one pick, followed by OKC, Houston, Sacramento, the big winners here, jumping up a couple of spots. My Pistons dropped down a couple of spots. Then you have Indiana, Portland, New Orleans, San Antonio, and Washington to round out the 10. Apart from a couple of different, Sacramento being the biggest one jumping up, kind of much of the same in terms of the lottery odds. So look, let's get to it. Let's get straight to business. At number one, the newly minted Orlando Magic, I have them taking Jabari Smith Jr. Jabari Smith Jr. makes a lot of sense for them. Look, I went back and forth about this pick because, there is... You could say that, Jalen Suggs' connection with Chet Holmgren could potentially influence something there. I think they're really, to be honest, they've got talent across the board, the Orlando Magic, but it makes sense since this draft is so top heavy with bigs to go down the bigs route. And, went back and forth with Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith Jr. And I think, just the appeal of what Jabari Smith could do. And I think that, Mo Bamba offers a bit of replication of Jabari Smith, but the shooting, the age, the defensive upside, again, this it almost sounds like Mo Bamba, Jabari Smith at the moment. But, you have a perceived really high caliber scorer, young guy. I think he will go into that young nucleus and the Orlando Magic becomes stacked. To me, they've got to trade one of those bigs away. I mean, they've got Isaac as well, but I see Jabari Smith Jr. complementing that front court and really making the Orlando Magic a team to watch in the future. For number two, the Oklahoma City Thunder. My boys at the OKC with their tanking tactics. It's turned out well. It's worked well for them. They've got the number two slot. And, they get their power forward of the future in Paolo Banchero. I like this fit for them. I think Banchero... Look, Chet Holmgren will get a good look here. He will get an absolute good look here. And, you could swing this both ways. But I think, essentially, OKC has been missing that front court scorer. And in Paolo Banchero, they get that. They get a guy that can come in, average 20 points, hopefully off good efficiency, complement Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the team, and just give them a guy that you can throw the ball down the block and score, and that is very valuable in any basketball scheme. Number three, the Houston Rockets. They shouldn't overthink this one. Look, it's gonna be the top three bigs that are taken off, just depending on the order. Chet Holmgren. Alfred Sengun is the bruiser. Chet Holmgren, pick and pop, multi-dimensional defender. Makes sense. It works for them. It allows them to let go of I've lost track of the forward that they have. They're going to let go. But look, it allows them to go young. Chet Holmgren is going to take a couple of years to develop. The Houston Rockets are going to take a couple of years to develop. It works. It makes sense. And at number four, the Sacramento Kings. Now, this is a challenging one. So the Sacramento Kings are in win now mode. And if anything, I really do think that this is where the draft gets really interesting and potentially we could see a trade here. For my Pistons, potentially, if they're really enamored with a Shaedon Sharpe, or if any one of those bigs fall for some reason, just say Shaedon Sharpe, gets the buzz that he gets, or even Jaden Ivey, I I'm going to say that the Detroit Pistons are going to be making some calls to try and get this to snag any one of those bigs. Uh, but absent that, I think the Sacramento Kings take Shaden Sharp, and Shaden Sharp is going to be really interesting. There are a lot of videos out there in terms of the workouts that he's doing. And he looks good in that setting, but he just does not have the body of work. So how do you take a guy that high? You take a guy that high based on potential and the tools. So I think it's really, really important for Sacramento to nail it. And unfortunately, with all the bigs out there, I think they're going to have to swing on talent, and talent is Shaden Sharp. For number 5, if everything goes this way, I see the Detroit Pistons going for Jaden Ivey. You got to swing for best player available, and Jaden Ivey, for all his limitations, and maybe it's not necessarily the most easiest sort of fit with Cade Cunningham, although a lot of people will tell you that it's a good sort of fit. Jaden Ivey, from a talent perspective, gives athleticism, gives explosion, and gives the dribble penetration that Cade Cunningham doesn't necessarily have from a straight line speed perspective. And I think it allows, there are a lot of things that could work here. And I think in Jaden Ivey, Detroit with Cade Cunningham will have a super interesting backcourt of the future. Number 6, the Indiana Pacers, Keegan Murray. You don't overthink this one. I think, Miles Turner has been on the trade block for a long time. They're due for an upgrade across the board, Indiana. I think they could swing for a wing here. Benedict Mathurin is there, but I see them taking Keegan Murray. I've since looked at Keegan Murray tape and warmed a little bit more on him. I had him at the latter end of the top 10 in my last draft. I see him as a less athletic Kyle Kuzma, and I think that's a very good player at number 6. At number 7, Portland will be spewing Damian Lillard. He wasn't happy. They take Benedict Mathurin. I think they upgrade their stocks at the wing. If they don't trade this is another one where, hint, hint, my Detroit Pistons, you could basically add another young player at the draft and call it a night. But if they keep it, Benedict Mathurin makes sense. Gives them an athletic slasher, someone to throw lobs to. Defensively, the tools are there for him to take advantage of. Benedict Mathurin at Portland for number 7. For number 8, New Orleans, I see AJ Griffin, 40% from 3. That's nothing to that is nothing to write home about. And I think AJ Griffin, depending on how he goes in some of the workouts, could shoot up. He actually could shoot up, and it'll be really interesting to see. But New Orleans is a good spot for him. It's a good spot for him for a team that is going to be playoff ready next year, I believe. San Antonio Spurs. It's a shame for my Spurs fans. I think nothing has changed for me. They take Jalen Duren. If Jalen Duren is there, they upgrade their stocks, and it provides, again, for me, a dynamic pick and roll partner for Dejounte Murray. Washington, I've got Dyson Daniels. Good size at the 1-2. I mean, if you really think about it, if Bradley Beal is going to stay there, defensively, Daniels has the size there. Bradley Beal's going to handle the rock anyway. Complements it very well. And this rounds out the top 10 for my mock draft post-lottery reaction. What do you think, guys? How did your team go in the draft? What do you think of my picks? And what do you think will be the first pick that will be traded in this draft? Because I have a feeling that there might be a couple. Again, guys, give us a thumbs up, leave some comments below, and we hope to see you back in the channel again.